Hey everybody, welcome. Welcome to weekly live Q&A. Tonight's topic is disappointment, dealing with disappointment while we are healing from complex trauma. This is the global community for adult survivors of complex trauma, childhood trauma, CPTSD symptoms, and you can go over to the About section of the YouTube channel if you're curious about what that's all about. But you're in the right place if you're here to receive support or give support to adult survivors who are healing from complex trauma and living with CPTSD symptoms. As I said, tonight's topic is disappointment. We're going to jump right in. It is live Q&A just like every week. We've all been sort of showing up here together and hanging out together for over 4 years now, online, on social media, and every Monday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here. And you are welcome. Welcome if this is your very first time. I'm so excited that you've chosen to be here. And if you have been here for 4 years, or 3 or 2 or 1 or however long, and you're coming back, thank you. You guys are the reason this channel is so transforming and powerfully healing. You guys are the most important part of this channel, this community. It's because of you that lives are transformed and changed. And I just get the opportunity and the privilege to come here and sort of hold this gathering place for us so that we can all heal together. So again, tonight's topic is disappointment. I want to really quickly just let you know it is important for all of us here that every single person that shows up is treated with dignity and kindness, human decency, respect, that they feel welcomed. And if you choose to act in a way that is contrary to any of that, you will be blocked immediately, banned, and not welcome back here ever, again, at all, period, forever. So hope that's clear enough for you. You're not welcome here if you are going to choose to spin out over in the chat box here if you're live, or in the comments below if you're on a replay. You'll just be blocked and you won't be welcome back, because this is a place for people who want to treat other people with kindness, dignity, human decency, respect, and to be welcoming and helpful and supportive to other people. That is why we show up. That is the environment we cultivate, and that is the standard that we set here. So if that's you, welcome. If that's not you, bye-bye. Sorry, not sorry. And I have a screen share with a framework that's how we've been going through how we're processing our feelings in CPTSD recovery. We're not numbing them, stuffing them, or avoiding them. We're actually moving through the feelings, and we're going through a workflow on how to move through the feelings. Why do we do this? Because if we numb, stuff, and avoid the feelings, which is human nature, that's just what we do, right? Unless we intentionally move through the feelings, allow ourselves to sit with the feelings that we're going through in CPTSD recovery, if we numb them, stuff them, or avoid them, at the least opportune moment, they're going to pop up because we haven't processed them yet. We haven't moved through them. We haven't given them the attention they deserve. And so they're going to show up unexpectedly, right when we don't want them to, like when we're standing on a stage, delivering a presentation, speaking to an audience, having an intimate conversation with a very dear friend, or asking someone out on a date, or cultivating a new romantic relationship, or when we're dealing with a big financial decision in our lives. If we haven't or even a health crisis, things that go on with our physical health. We're dealing with all of those things. They're just life things that come up, right? And, money, family, relationships, job, career, even our spiritual health, whatever that may look like for you. When we don't sit with our feelings and process our feelings and move through our feelings, when we go over them, around them, or under them, or just numb them out, stuff them, and avoid them, they're going to show up. They just will show up. If they show up and we deal with them, then it's likely that they might not ever show up again. But when they do show up, and we choose to numb them, stuff them, or avoid them, and we don't deal with them, then they're going to continue to show up until we do deal with them. So that's why everybody shows up here on this channel. That's why you're here now. If that doesn't sound good to you, then that's totally fine. Maybe this channel might not be for you, but that's what we do on this channel. And if all of that sounds great to you and you're not already subscribed to this channel, I would love it if you would subscribe to this YouTube channel, hit the little bell for notifications for when I post live videos or even recorded videos. If you wanted to give this video a thumbs up, if by the time you're watching this, it's been helpful for you at all, you can always thumbs down it later if you want. But if you want to give the video a thumbs up, that would be great. And I have a whole bunch of hotline information right over here in the chat box. If you're here live, please page all the way up because I wrote you some messages if you're here live. And if you're here on a replay, the pinned comment below will be all of the hotline information should you be in crisis. But long story short, if you're a survivor of rape, abuse, or incest, please reach out to our friends over at RAINN, 1-800-656-HOPE, or logging on to rainn.org, RAINN.org. And there is going to be a whole bunch of information over here. If you have suicidal ideation, you're contemplating taking your life, we don't want you to be in crisis. If you are in a domestic violence situation, if you're dealing with deep grief regarding the things that you're processing, whether it's a loss of innocence, loss of a loved one, if your abuser or their enablers or something has happened in your life and you're going through the grieving process, there's a number over here for that. If you prefer texting and you don't want to call or go onto a website, then you can text the word START, S-T-A-R-T, to 741-741, and there will be someone there at the crisis text line that will come on and direct you to a local place where you can actually receive the help that you deserve. My point in saying all that is that I am not set up for crisis care here on YouTube. YouTube is never an alternative to professional medical care. Licensed professionals, professional healthcare, professional mental health care. It's super duper duper important that you seek that, and these videos are only a means of supplementary support and not primary support, and they're never a diagnosis. I simply share things that I've learned over my 17, 18-year healing journey, research I've done, and I think that's it for the disclaimers, guys. I've gotten some emails lately that people telling me, you need to hurry up and talk faster in the beginning. So hopefully I talked fast enough for you guys. Thanks for all the thumbs up and for all the support and for the emails and the voicemails and all the things that you guys are sending. It's just amazing. And just welcome to all of you guys. There's so many of you here already. There's like 40 of you. That's amazing. Okay, so last week we ended on Declan's question, and then I'm going to go through and I'm going to continue to answer questions that you sent in. We're going to take questions for now on, usually within the first 20 minutes of the video. We're going to take questions, and then if there's time later on in the video after, then we can take more questions live later. But otherwise, for now on, we're just going to take questions in the first 20 minutes. Otherwise, it runs into like 2 hours, and it's much too long for some people that are not part of our community on a regular basis. They're showing up randomly, finding us in YouTube search, and they're just like, I can't watch a 2-hour video. I don't have time for that. Like, I've been trying to heal for 40 years. I don't have time for that. So they end up skipping over our video and not watching it because it's too long. So I'll do my best to stay here as long as I possibly can. I love being here with you guys, but I am going to try to stick to the hour and be respectful of your time. So again, we ended on Declan's question last week. I'm going to move through a framework and just show you guys a screen share really quick. And I want to say really quick thank you to Shelly and Heroes Don't Wear Capes and Joey Lesage and Miss Beachboxer and Poppy from Poppy's Mission, Rhonda Lindsay, and Holistic Recovery, and then another question from Miss Beachboxer, and Matt from Beyond Your Past is taking your questions, and he's getting them over to me here on our app so that I can answer your questions. So thank you. Oh, and thank you so much to Charlotte as well, who sent in a question. And oh, before I forget to tell you guys, it's going to be on the screen share. I made sure I added it to the screen share so that I wouldn't forget. But there is going to be, you guys already know that we have free groups that have been going on for about 4 years now. You simply email, and then we ask you some vetting questions, and you get funneled in to a free Facebook group filled with hundreds and hundreds of other people just like us that have struggled with their recovery journey, or they're currently in trauma recovery. And those are free. But there's something new that I've been talking about for about a year now, and it's finally going to be happening in March. And that is we're going to be it is an affordable monthly subscription that gives you the opportunity to receive live daily support through audio, through phone. And that's going to be launching in March. So daily recovery support. And it's live calls. And it's just like this, but it's audio, and it's daily, like 365 days a year. Like, it's going to be amazing. And that's starting up here in March, coming up. The beta is going to be in March. If you're interested in being part of the beta group, then awesome. Let us know. Email lisa@cptsdfoundation.org and put daily recovery support in the subject line if you're interested in being part of the beta group. And we'll explain to you what that even means. Like, what's a beta? Is that a fish? Like, yes, but we're talking about something totally different. If you're part of the beta group, it means that you get to test it out in the very beginning and be among the very first people that are testing out the daily recovery support calls that we're offering. And it's for men and women that are healing from trauma or going through recovery. And it's going to start with trauma recovery, and it's going to morph into other areas of recovery, you know, eating disorder recovery and addiction recovery and self-harm and suicide survivors. It's gonna move its way all across all recovery, but it's starting, of course, with trauma recovery and CPTSD recovery because that's our area of expertise. So, but I'm so excited to tell you about that daily recovery support. Put that in the email subject line and email lisa@cptsdfoundation.org. And again, that'll be starting up in March for the beta group, and then it will go live and it will be affordable. I'm not going to say, I don't know the price yet exactly. We're working on the price, but it's per month, and it provides you with daily support live. So that's pretty awesome. Okay, I've talked enough. I'm already getting the hate mail. I can just feel it right now. I can feel the hate mail coming. So thank you to Charlotte, and thank you to John Harvey, who sent in a question. And I feel like I'm forgetting someone. Rhonda, Poppy, Holistic Recovery, Miss Beachboxer, Joey, Heroes Don't Wear Capes, Shelly, and there's probably some more that I've missed somehow. But I'm going to do the screen share really quick first, and then I'm going to answer your questions. Okay? Let me get a drink of water first. How are you guys doing? How are you feeling? How are you guys feeling? Put over here in the chat box if you're here live how you're feeling. If you're here on a replay, let us know how you're feeling below, or what is the best way we can possibly support you in your recovery journey. Let us know. We're a big, happy, welcoming community, so you are welcome here with us. Really quickly, I'm going to do this screen share, and we're just going to go through the workflow that we've been talking about for the last 4 weeks. This is week 5, and we keep adding on to it every week, and we keep talking about how we're processing our feelings, right? Because we're not numbing them, stuffing them, or avoiding them. We're actually processing them. We're navigating through the feelings. We're not going around them or under them or over them. We're moving through them. So here we go. Hopefully you guys can see that. Okay. So here we are. We're navigating feelings during CPTSD recovery, and this is week 5, and week 5's topic is disappointment. You can log on to cptsdfoundation.org if you want more information on free resources and affordable resources for trauma survivors if you are a survivor or a practitioner. And you can email Lisa at cptsdfoundation.org if you would like to be welcomed into one of our safe groups for survivors of trauma, and they're free. So the way that I described it last week is we're going to move through the feelings of disappointment and how they show up in a trigger, an emotional flashback. And the way I described it last week was disappointment from someone I love or trust not remembering or not paying attention to me or hearing me. That was my specific thing. Yours could be anything. This is just my thing. So, my thing. Your thing could be yours could be anything. Yours could be what are you disappointed about? Yours could be anything. Anything at all. So this is the framework or the workflow on how I'm currently navigating through my feelings in recovery, and I'm not numbing them, stuffing them, or avoiding them. And so what happens here is that first I'm triggered. And sometimes I don't even know I'm triggered. This doesn't happen in order. We move through this. We go back and forth through this depending on where we're at. This doesn't always happen linearly or in order because trauma recovery is not a linear process, right? So I'm triggered, and then I'm asking myself, if I realize I'm triggered, and I can come back to this if all of a sudden I don't even realize I'm triggered until all of a sudden I'm in like a fight or a flight or a freeze or a fawn. Or I realize, oh my goodness, like I'm in huge distress right now and I don't think I can tolerate this. And I realize, wait a second, am I triggered? And then I go up here, okay, I'm triggered. What, if anything, does this feeling remind me of? This feeling, what does this feeling remind me of? Is this a familiar feeling I'm having? And then, you know, it might not be familiar. Maybe we don't know. And that's okay if we don't know. It's totally fine. Because we're right now, we're realizing that we're in an emotional flashback. And what that means is that I might not be able to pinpoint the exact time and place that I'm being taken back to. And what I mean taken back to is this a familiar feeling? Is this a familiar feeling, this trigger of mine, right? So I might not be able to identify where I'm being taken back to. And that is 100% okay. I might need to consider one reason for me not knowing if this is a familiar feeling or not. It could be because there were so many times in my life or in my earlier years that I felt this feeling, whatever this feeling might be, this blank right here, this feeling, right? We're working through the feelings, navigating the feelings. So what is this feeling that we're talking about right now? So right now we're talking about disappointment. I'm disappointed because my husband, someone that I love and trust, didn't remember something we were talking about. He wasn't paying attention and he didn't hear me. And so what did that cause me to feel, right? Disappointment is obviously the thing. I finally realized that after moving through all of this back and forth so many times, I realize that it's disappointment. But disappointment triggered something else. What did it trigger in me? Last week we discovered that it triggered feelings of unsafety for me, right? Disappointment in my earlier years was always a precursor to something horrible happening. I was not safe. I was exploited. I was abused. I was treated poorly. I was neglected. I was bullied. You name it. That's what happened usually after I was disappointed. I got my hopes up about something. I got my hopes up that this time it was going to be different. The abuse is going to stop. And then I felt that sinking feeling. I was disappointed that it didn't stop. It was definitely going to be the way it always was. And so that disappointment led me to feel this feeling that I'm triggered by right now, right? Because someone not listening to you, and that's disappointing. While that is disappointing here in the here and now, it definitely doesn't mean that I'm going to be sexually exploited, abused, neglected, treated poorly, left without food, et cetera, but that's what the feeling triggers in me. I felt disappointed, and what that disappointment caused for me was feelings of unsafety, unworthiness. I was feeling bad. I was feeling ashamed. I was afraid. And sometimes when I get triggered, Sometimes it might even be that I'm feeling happy and hopeful. Not in this case. Not in this case, okay? In this particular case up here, it was definitely that I was feeling unsafe. I was feeling afraid. That's what it triggered for me. But sometimes an emotional flashback and our triggers can be when it's a happy and hopeful time. Because sometimes happiness and hopefulness were precursors to feeling unsafe, unworthy, bad, ashamed, afraid. And maybe we felt like our life was in danger. So we're going to deal with happiness and hopefulness in another week. But right now we're dealing with disappointment. So please go slow and be kind to yourself. I know I say that all the time, but it's super important. So what I noticed last week, we discussed this, that when I was disappointed, it was the first feeling that I felt that actually triggered fight. I went to, remember what I said last week? I said I went from 0 to 1,000 bitch mode. And I felt terrible for my husband later on. He didn't say that I was in 0 to 1,000 bitch mode. He probably would never say that. But I said that. So for me, the one that applied after I was triggered, I realized that I was, for the first time, oh my goodness, I'm in fight. I'm not in flight. I'm not actually feeling the urge to leave or run away right now. I'm not frozen and numb and paralyzed. No, I'm angry. I'm angry, and I'm giving him a piece of my mind, right? And remember last week we talked about fawn. Fawn is when we hustle for our worth. It's when we try to talk our way out of something or into something. We try to reason with someone. We try to give them a million reasons why we're worthy of being treated kindly, worthy of being treated with respect, worthy of not being disappointed or feeling whatever that feeling is that caused all these other feelings. Okay. So last week I was in fight. I was angry. And then before I knew it, my heart rate was so up. I was so angry. I realized that I was definitely in distress and I wasn't tolerating it well. And I had to take some deep breaths here and observe my behaviors. So I was observing my behaviors and I was trying to figure out, oh my goodness, what's going on here? What's going on? Why am I, what's going on? Why am I feeling this way? And I jumped down here and I reminded myself that I am safe. And then in a act of self-care, I was self-soothing and I was doing healthy things, which meant that I was breathing. I decided to hydrate. I decided to get myself a healthy snack. I remember getting some grapes and I sat with and observed my behaviors more once I got myself a healthy snack. Now, self-soothing sometimes can be, this can be where self-harm comes in. So that's why I put in parentheses healthy. Sometimes we can binge eat as a means of self-soothing. We move into self-harming behaviors, perhaps cutting. This is something where we just feel like we need to release the pressure. So what I did was I found a healthy coping strategy and I got a healthy snack and I poured myself a big glass of water and I went back and I sort of moved through this workflow. And then I took excellent care of myself. I reminded myself that I was safe and I believe I took a nap. And as much as I wanted to shame myself for going through all of this, I actually was intentionally patient with myself, reminding myself that I am worthy of not rushing the process. Okay, I was rushed my whole life. I'm worthy of not rushing now. And then I always like to remind you guys that patience is key to healing. We need to give ourselves as much time as we need. And the reason I say need/have is for those of you moms and dads out there that are juggling parenting during trauma recovery. Sometimes you don't have all the time you need. You only have a certain amount of time. So give yourself as much time as you have and remember that you are worthy of all the time and the effort that it takes to heal. You are. Okay, so please just do your best to make time for you because you are worth it. Okay, we are worth it. And then again, like I mentioned earlier, email Lisa at cptsdfoundation.org if you would like to be welcomed into one of our free safe groups. They're free. Or you can email starting now, like starting today on February 12th is the first time we're even talking about this out loud on the YouTube channel. We're launching an affordable monthly subscription which offers daily live phone calls for men and women working their way through trauma recovery, and that's beginning in March. So simply write daily recovery support in the subject line of an email, And then that way you can finally get the support that you need. Okay, so you can email Lisa at lisa@cptsdfoundation.org, and I'm excited to meet you in a way that is frankly very special, and there's not really anybody that's offering this kind of thing out there in the world right now. Daily live calls are something that, I mean, while it is a great idea in theory, it's really hard to execute because there's a lot of moving parts. There's people from 182 countries on this YouTube channel. So you had to find like a provider that offers free international calls to dial in to get the support they need. So all of the calls will be recorded, and then eventually all the calls will be transcribed as well, and maybe even into other languages. If I have people step up and volunteer, that would be amazing, but I look forward to supporting you in that way. So I will spend the next 35 minutes answering all of your questions, boom, every single one of them that I have, starting with Shelly. So Shelly says, triggers when I'm around people who have had lives that are worthwhile, and I feel that I was robbed of all of that, including having a family of my own, because I am so broken. How do I cope with that? And so, Shelly, first of all, thank you for being so vulnerable and just honest and putting yourself out there and sharing your struggles with us so that we can all heal together. And secondly, Shelly, I know what this feels like. I lived a good 10 years of my life, maybe even more, constantly asking myself this question, like, why does everybody else get to have nice people in their lives? Why does everybody else have a nice mom and dad? Why can't I have a healthy family of origin that likes me? And why do I have to have the family that hates me and tells me that they hate me? And they tell me that I'm unwelcome in the family. And they tell me that I'm like a loser and that I'll never fit in. And like, I remember this type of thing, Shelly. And so I feel like since I've lived this and I'm sort of coming out the other side now, that I can answer your question with raw honesty and tell you how I coped with that. So the hardest part, Shelly, I think, is the reality that we were robbed. Like, there's no one that's going to come along and tell me, you weren't robbed of that. No, you're just looking at it wrong. Like, there is no one on God's green earth that can come along and tell me, Athena, you had a wonderful life. You're just looking at it. Maybe you just need to reframe that and look at it from a different angle, right? I've had those people come along. As you can probably imagine, yeah, those conversations didn't go well because whether it was pre-full-fledged memories, which, like, as most of you know, like the most common age for women to have their memories of childhood trauma is in their 30s, and the most common time for men to have memories of their childhood trauma, any type of childhood trauma, cult abuse, physical, emotional, verbal, neglect, sexual abuse, any type of abuse, men remember usually in their 40s. Early 40s is when they start remembering. Women start remembering for some reason a little bit earlier. And, you know, anyone could speculate why that is. Girls are just in a really big hurry to grow up, and I don't know, maybe girls are just, you know, maybe they just talk more or do more. I have no idea, but that's just what I have found personally and professionally, and it actually applies to me as well. So, so pre-memories, I had people come along and tell me, like, maybe you're just looking at this wrong. Like, they really do mean well. I mean, you know, right? Like, maybe you're looking at it the wrong way. And I honestly believe that that was the case. Like, I tried reframing it. I tried looking at it from different angles and directions. Maybe I should put myself in their shoes, and maybe they're right, and maybe I'm just being overly emotional. Maybe I'm being overly sensitive. But no, Shelley, when you're abused, whether it's overtly or covertly, for a long period of time, and you're traumatized, it's real. It's real. And coping with the reality that our family of origin or people that were close to us, that were trusted by the family, or that we knew or that we thought were safe people, they were abusive and neglectful or treated us poorly. And then we see all these other people that have like loving and kind and supportive and healthy and responsible and respectable families and relationships. And you're just like scratching your head like, why the hell did I get like, why couldn't I win the family lottery? Why couldn't I win the life lottery and have healthy relationships and have, you know what I mean? So I felt that way for decades of my life until, I say all of that to say this, Shelley, until I accepted the reality that they were never going to change, so I had to. And so I removed myself physically and otherwise, meaning physical proximity. I moved away from them. And then I also cut them off virtually. I'm not just saying like, whack, cut them off. I established and maintained some very healthy boundaries. I let them know in no uncertain terms that I wasn't going to allow them to use me as their scapegoat anymore. They weren't allowed to emotionally vomit all over me or be disrespectful or unkind to myself or my child. And they weren't allowed to call me at work and be ridiculous. They weren't allowed to show up unannounced. They weren't allowed to text me and call me at all hours of the night. Oh, I always forget the time zone in Hawaii. I didn't mean to call you at 3 in the morning. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You meant to call me at 3 in the morning because you think that the world needs to stop and you expect special behavior. You expect special favors. You expect special treatment. And so that's why you called me at 3 in the morning, which is not okay. And I'm not going to answer your calls anymore. In fact, I think that for now, we should probably just maybe email for a while. So, Shelley, in order for me to get to the part where we're coping with it, we have to get ourselves mentally and emotionally prepared to cope with it. And so what we have to do is we have to set ourselves up for success because we already know we were dealt a shitty hand, Shelley. We know that we were dealt a shitty hand. We were abused. We were neglected. We were treated poorly. We were scapegoated. We were dealt a crappy hand. And it was horrible. And we were robbed. We were robbed of a healthy, fill in the blank, healthy relationship, healthy childhood, healthy life, healthy opportunities, healthy innocence, healthy upbringing, healthy, responsible, like teaching me how to do life. Like we were robbed of all of those things. A lot of the things that a lot of people have, the opportunities that are given to them, we were robbed of those. And so we have to allow ourselves to feel just a little bit angry and frustrated about that, enough to cause us to execute, enough to cause us to act. So we make healthy choices that we think other healthy people might make, which is establishing and maintaining healthy boundaries. And then once we've set ourselves up for success and we've communicated and established and maintained some healthy boundaries, right after we do that, we go, okay, so how am I going to change this? That's my past. It doesn't dictate my future. How can I cope with this and move forward now? How can I cultivate a happy and good life now? Now that I've established and maintained healthy boundaries, I'm not letting people talk poorly to me. I'm not letting them stop by unannounced. I'm not letting abusive and toxic and dysfunctional people text me at all hours, call me at all hours, show up at my house, come by, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now that I'm physically and otherwise separated from the toxic, then my head is clear and I can go, oh, well, now I can look at the crap that's before me and I can feel all of the feelings. I'm angry about that. I'm sad about that. I need to grieve that. That's really painful, and I'm still angry about that. And you know what? I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that I can change this in the future, and I want to break the cycle so that future generations, my children and grandchildren, or future grandchildren, future children, whatever, won't go through what I went through. And that's the way I coped. Knowing, Shelly, that I set myself up for success by physically and otherwise doing boundaries, physical, emotional, virtual, all of it, boundaries. And then I allowed myself to feel all of the feelings that were attached to being robbed of what was rightfully mine, which is a peaceful, healthy life. And then I felt all the feelings, and then I decided, what's next? How can I change this? How can I break the cycle? And that's how I coped. So that's a long answer. I know that was a 10-minute answer, Shelly, but I believe that your question deserved a 10-minute answer because it's a video that I've recorded previously but didn't go into great detail about, and I really believe that a lot of people watching needed to hear that. And so thank you for asking not only an excellent question, but sharing a little bit of your truth, being vulnerable, and giving me an opportunity to share actionable steps with 4,000 people around the world so that they know what they can possibly do. And not everyone can do boundaries. I get it. Not everyone can move away. I have to co-parent with this person. I'm stuck in this state. I'm stuck in this city. I'm physically disabled. I'm mentally disabled. Not everybody can do that. Apart from boundaries and then moving forward in the direction that you know you want to go so you can break that cycle, I don't know how to cope. My faith played a big part in it. I would pray every day, all day, like just seriously, like I was a praying woman. Like, yes, I'm a woman of faith. You guys already all know that about me. But when I was coping with all of this and the reality that I was robbed of everything good, my faith came into play. So whatever faith you practice, it's not my job to tell you who or what to believe. So I'm just going to help people continue to heal. You need to find something to believe in and draw strength from that if you can't do boundaries. And even if you can do boundaries, draw some strength from that because it will help. For me, it's God. And for other people, it's different. It's universe, it's spirit, there Buddha, you know, there are so many different faith beliefs. But in moments when I feel utterly and completely broken, I draw on my faith. And it is truly, I believe, what saved my life other than this community. Draw from the community, draw from your faith, boundaries, 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 break the cycle. That's what I did, and that's what I preach, for lack of a better, more appropriate word. But thank you so much. Heroes Don't Wear Capes says, being able to communicate that I might be disappointed in someone else, I find that impossible. I didn't want them to feel bad. But then I feel like I'm ripping myself off in some way. You are. This is such an excellent question. Thank you so much, Heroes Don't Wear Capes. If someone could tag Shelly Blondeau and Heroes Don't Wear Capes so that they know that like I'm finally answering their question from last week, because they were so brave to send in questions. I just want them to know, right? Tweet them or tag them in the comments over here, or in the chat box over here, in the comments below, perhaps, if you're on a replay. But yeah, I was the same way. Heroes Don't Wear Capes. And I don't know if this rings true for you, but this was a big one for me. So I was afraid to communicate my disappointment in other people because I was never listened to when I was younger. That's a big one. And so I was trained through words, actions, and withholding of love that me communicating was fruitless. It was pointless completely. It was so painful to communicate my needs because they were never met. And so what that did is that trained me to manage other people's feelings and to never communicate my needs. So if I communicate my needs to someone and let them know, I feel disappointed by the way you're treating me right now, that's communicating a need. I'm basically saying, I need you to treat me better. But my needs were never met. And so I was so afraid of communicating that, because that's how I was trained, that I wouldn't. And then I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want them to feel bad. That's me managing someone else's emotion. It all comes from people pleasing. This is all codependency, which what breeds codependency? When you're in an environment that's completely toxic and you have no way out but to fawn your way to survival. Hustle for your worth. Do whatever you think will get their approval. Do whatever you think they want or need. Say whatever you think they want or need. Be whoever you think they want or need. And that does not include communicating any type of disappointment, because that's not something they want or need, right? And so when I decided one day that I deserved to communicate my needs, which all stemmed from me establishing a healthy boundary, my whole world changed. So I did not want anyone to feel bad. That was part of my thing. And then I realized, which I think that the big magic that happens in your question, heroes don't wear capes, is the moment when you say, but then I feel like I'm ripping myself off in some way. Because you are. You are. You are ripping yourself off. You deserve to feel your feelings. If you feel disappointed in something or someone, I'm assuming it's because it's valid. By the way, everybody's feelings are just feelings. They're not right or wrong. They're just feelings. They just are. My feelings are just feelings. They're not right or wrong. Your feelings, they're not right or wrong. They're just feelings. And when we decide to communicate our feelings, communicate our needs, establish and maintain healthy boundaries, we begin attracting people into our lives that actually listen and care about our needs and our feelings. It's like the strangest, craziest thing that ever happened. It's like, what is that saying? Sorry, I feel like I'm gonna sneeze. Uh-oh. I hope I don't sneeze. Oh, I was sneezing like 5 times in a row earlier. So what is that saying that happens when the student is ready, the teacher appears? I wasn't ever so sure about that, but it's the same thing regarding boundaries and like communicating our needs, right? When we are ready, the opportunity to establish a boundary appears. And then people who respect boundaries appear. It's like amazing. And I'm not talking about some law of attraction woo-woo, like no offense to the law of attraction peeps. Y'all are great. Love you. Mean it. But this isn't one of those things. This is just simply semantics. This is simply real. Like we're saying the same thing, but in a different way. What I mean is when you're ready to feel your feelings and communicate your needs, people that respect your feelings and your needs are going to magically appear. You're going to attract them to you. You're going to realize, oh, they heard me and they care. No way. And kind of like being in this community. Like many of you wandered around your whole life not being heard or cared about. And then you showed up in our community and everybody was like, woohoo, welcome. We're so happy you're here. We're so glad you're here. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for bearing our burdens with us. Thank you for going down this journey of trauma recovery with us. We're so happy you're here. You're incredible. I like how it is that you describe things. Share your journey with us. We'll share our journey with you. Like as soon as we decide that we're not going to manage other people's emotions and that we don't want them to feel bad. Like, does that just mean that I automatically turn into a person that wants other people to feel bad? No, I didn't magically turn into a person that wanted other people to feel bad. You want to know who I turned into overnight? I turned into the type of person that actually cared about myself at all. And I learned to communicate my needs in a loving way. And the people who didn't respect my boundaries or listen to what I was saying, they weren't worthy of my time. I don't spend time with them. They're not in my life. Like, I spend time with a very select few people, close friends, loved ones, family members, colleagues. Like, those are who I spend time with. And they're the people that even if I had to communicate something that wasn't necessarily an easy thing to communicate, I wouldn't have to worry about them feeling bad, because they would know that I'm not the type of person that wants them to feel bad. And if I'm saying it, it must mean something. And they would actually hear me and they would listen. So I'm hoping that that is helpful for you, Heroes Don't Wear Capes, because this is so, 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 so key. When we stop managing everybody else's emotions, then we have more time to actually sit with our feelings, accept them, and communicate them and heal from them. And then they're not just popping up randomly out of nowhere and like showing up when we don't want them to. So I hope that was helpful. That was such a good question. Joey says, how do I get over my fear of not only disappointing others, but myself? I have been giving the opportunity to help others, and I am afraid of disappointing the person who has given me the chance if I fail. What do I do to get over the fear of disappointment? Joey, this is such an awesome question. Thank you for sending it in. If someone could tag Joey, that would be awesome. And I want to just say that, Joey, this is something that crosses all barriers. It's not only people who are in trauma recovery that have a fear of disappointing others, or a fear of failure, or even a fear of success. Like, I have both a fear of failure and a fear of success. They're like both sides of the same coin, right? Because if I fail, I've let that person down and I've let myself down. But if I succeed, then that gives me a little bit of hope. And remember what we said on the workflow that we shared on the screen share, sometimes hope precedes disappointment, which precedes fear and unsafety and shame and anguish and fill in the blank, right? So our subconscious keeps us stuck sometimes in a place where we won't put ourselves out there, because when we put ourselves out there, if we're well received, we might actually feel hopeful about something, which precedes disappointment, which precedes shame and fear and neglect and pain and all those other horrible things that we don't want to feel. And so, Joey, my answer to you, when you said, what do I do to get over the fear of disappointment? I say you go for it. I say you take this person up on their offer and offer support to other people. And I don't think that you can let them down or let yourself down as long as you try, right? There's no failure but the failure to try. So don't fail to try. Just try. Just try to be your best. Try to support these other people that you're being given the opportunity to support. And I'm giving you high fives the whole way and cheering you on. And I know that the rest of our community is also. So, oh my gosh, you guys, there's so many of you. There's like 50 of you. Hi. I'm going to talk faster. Poppy's Mission says, thank you for the question, by the way, Joey. Poppy's Mission says, I often say that I am terminally optimistic, hopeful, and optimistic. Can being hopeful become sort of toxic? Kind of like denial, defense against the truth to avoid things like disappointment? So there's so much insight packed in this one little question. Poppy, if someone could tag Poppy over in the comments, I want her to know that I'm talking to her right now. I have been called not only terminally optimistic, but annoyingly chipper. And the only person that's going to know if you are using optimism and hopefulness as a coping strategy leaning towards denial. If you have something horrible that's going on in your life and you are choosing to be hopeful about it or seeing the best in it, I don't think that that can actually be toxic unless, of course, you are only choosing to be hopeful so you don't ever deal with the details, if you don't deal in reality. Now, this is not to say that being an optimist is not as valuable as being a realist. Sometimes realism leans on the pessimistic side, whereas the same realist can occasionally lean on the optimistic side. So I am a realist, but I do tend to be very optimistic and rarely pessimistic. Why would that be? Because while I do live in the real world, and I am realistic that there are shitty people in the world that do shitty things, both to children and adults, and just to the general public. There's just crappy people in the world. It just is what it is, right? It's just reality. The reality is that the world is not a happy, kind place to everybody. But the reason that I am hopeful is because I know that I can control me. Poppy, as long as you're hopeful because you are taking the ball and running with it, and you're going to own your own destiny, or what does my colleague say? Rule your realm. You're going to rule your realm. Whatever realm you're living in, you're going to rule that realm. You're like, for me, I own the keys to my own future. Yes, my past is really painful. I was abused and exploited and treated poorly and scapegoated. And you guys know my story. It's ridiculous. Poppy has a similar story. Everyone, all of you have a story, but your past does not define your future. So if I'm placed with a situation where, let's say I receive I get served with papers, Poppy, and I'm being sued for like $1 million because someone decides they're going to sue me. Now, I could instantly become optimistic about that and say, well, I hope I can hire a really good attorney and defend myself and hope that the law will be on my side and that this person will settle outside of court. And, you know, I don't know what I did wrong, but let's just see about it. Like, let's go through the proper channels. See, that's realistic hopefulness. But if I were to say, oh, what are these papers, these paper thingies that are just like they're like suing me. Like there's all these zeros. Is that $1 million? Like they're suing me for $1 million. Oh, I'm sure that that's totally nothing. Just throw those papers away. Throw those papers away. Let's shred those babies. Let's not deal with that. Like that would probably be more along the lines of denial. But if we're dealing in reality and we're addressing the things that come at us with some hopeful optimism, there's nothing wrong with that because you're dealing in reality. The only time that it gets toxic, Poppy, is if you are taking the real things that are going on, sticking them up on a shelf and going, I'll get to that later, and then you never get to it. Like, that's not healthy. When we numb out, whether it's through self-harm or addiction, video games, social media, gambling, porn, any type of addiction, or busyness, we're numbing through busyness. Let's keep ourselves busy. Let's book ourselves solid like every minute of every day, right? Or we stuff it and we just go, ain't nobody got no time for this. I'm going to stuff this down. I'm going to swallow it and I'm going to deal with it later. And then we never deal with it, right? Or we just stay busy on social media. Or we stay busy. We go to the gym. We stay on a diet. We go here. We busy ourselves, right? We're numbing, or we're stuffing, or we're just avoiding it. Period. Like I'll just pretend I didn't receive those documents that those people are going to sue me for $1 million, and I'll just put them over on my husband's desk. And those don't exist. That's avoiding, and that's denial, and that's not healthy. But if you're hopeful and optimistic that we're going to come to we're going to deal with it and it's going to have a good outcome, there's nothing toxic about that at all. And I just cheer you on and encourage you in that. And to answer your question, yes, we can be hopeful and optimistic sometimes to avoid disappointment. But if we're dealing in reality and we're addressing all of the situations and the circumstances, then I don't think it can be to our detriment. I do think that it is okay to be optimistic and hopeful. In fact, I subscribe to that reality myself, and it helps me. And I'm living a great life now in spite of my past. So I say go for it. Rhonda says, how to overcome freeze, a catatonic state, and then flight because I'm embarrassed, and then fawn when I try to fix, only to discover their belief of failure for anyone suicidal or died, causing fight mode. So let me see if I can pull this apart and understand. So Rhonda's saying, how can I overcome freeze and then fight because I am embarrassed? Or freeze, fight, which causes me to be embarrassed. And then I fawn and try to fix it, only to discover that their belief of quote unquote failure for anyone that has been suicidal. Oh, maybe she's saying that someone triggered her into a flight and a freeze flight Freeze, flight, not fight. Okay. Maybe Rhonda's saying that she was triggered into a freeze and then a flight where she ran away, and then she tried to talk her way out of it, only to discover that the whole thing where she was triggered, it was because someone else was talking bad about someone who committed suicide. And it was the other person talking about someone committing suicide and maybe mocking them or saying bad things about them and that they're a failure. Anyone that commits suicide or dies by suicide is a failure. And that was what caused her fight mode, which then led to maybe her being frozen, and then she left, and then she came back and tried to work her way through it. So Rhonda, I'm only guessing that I only kind of just guessed. I hope I guessed right. Maybe I didn't, but I'm just going to go with it and say I guessed right. If not, please correct me. It's totally fine. You can send an email. How I would overcome this or deal with this is, since I can only control me, I would want to sit with that and ask myself, what does this remind me of? I'm feeling like I can't do anything right in this situation, because if I'm freezing and then I'm fleeing, but then I'm fawning to try to figure it out, but then I'm fighting because I'm upset with them that they're talking bad about these people who committed suicide. Like, it sounds to me like this is almost a situation where you're in a there's like dissonance here. You're in a double bind. And Gregory Bateson's theory of double bind theory of schizophrenia, what you've described here, Rhonda, I believe is the recipe to drive someone insane. It sounds like someone might be trying to trigger you. They might be trying to just get a reaction out of you, or it doesn't sound like a healthy situation, because no matter what you do, you're doing it wrong. Like there's not like a way to solve this problem. So I know that I can control me and me only. And if I'm embarrassed, or if I feel like I need to leave, or if I'm frozen, and then since I'm frozen, I'm feeling ashamed of that, like I need to just sit with that with myself and advocate for myself and let myself know, it's natural for me to feel these feelings, because they shouldn't have been saying this. They shouldn't have said those things about that person. And I was obviously affected, and that's okay. So it doesn't sound like a healthy situation, though. I would definitely encourage you to not be around those people. Okay. So, I want to say thank you to Charlotte and to Sharon and to Joey and John Harvey and Miss Beachboxer and Holistic Recovery. I'm going to answer as many questions as I can right now. Holistic Recovery says, how do we get rid of covert narcissists? I don't know. The way that I've gotten rid of covert narcissists, and maybe I'm just thrown off guard because I don't see how this is on topic. So maybe this is off topic. Getting rid of covert narcissists, the best way to do that is the same way to get rid of overt narcissists, which is gray rock, low contact, no contact. Gray rock, low contact, no contact. Boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. That's how. That's the short answer. Holistic Recovery says, I have tried to set boundaries and I am left. I am very disappointed and frustrated. I'm so sorry that you're disappointed and frustrated. I understand now why this is on topic. And you're completely valid in asking this question, Holistic Recovery. I apologize. I should have read the whole question first instead of just the first sentence. My bad. I would be disappointed too, because if I set healthy boundaries and I don't have a good outcome and they just won't go away, then I would be disappointed and frustrated also. My answer is just definitely continue with those boundaries. Maintain those boundaries. Say what you're going to do and follow through with it. If you say, if you do blank, I will blank, or I won't blank, then follow through with that and do it over and over and over and over and over again until they leave you alone. That's what I would do. And you're very valid in feeling disappointed and frustrated. I think that's Monica. Monica, you're valid. Your feelings are valid. And I'm very happy you asked the question. And I'm sorry that I jumped to conclusions, because I would feel disappointed too. Miss Beachboxer says, how do I handle or stop my disappointment in backtracking on my recovery? I come a long way and then I crash back into my inability to use my tools. Ooh, Miss Beachboxer. Yes, yes, yes. So I think the only thing that's helped me in this is community. Community and safe people. Someone tag Miss Beachboxer and Monica from Holistic Recovery. I want them to know that I'm answering their questions. If you could tag them, that would be great. Miss Beachboxer, the only thing that's helped me in getting disappointed in myself for feeling like I'm taking 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 1 step forward, 8 steps back. The only thing that's helped me is community. Community and safe people who will reflect back to me the truth about how far I've really come over time, and not just in the here and now. Time, look where I came from all these years, all this work I've done, but we can't see that in ourselves sometimes. We have to have other people reflect that back to us so that we don't give up, so we don't lose hope. So community, community, safe people, safe people. That's my answer. That's my final answer. John Harvey says, I deal with disappointment with myself in many things in how I handle my life. I wish I could be more strong to be around people and to date without running away. Oh, John Harvey, I feel you. I feel you. If someone could tag John Harvey, I want him to know I'm answering his question. I feel you, John Harvey. I was in this place for so long. In fact, I used to tell everybody, they would try to set me up with people. I'd be like, I am happily single. Thank you very much. And what that really meant is that I had very rigid boundaries. I had built my brick wall all the way up to here, and I didn't want to let anybody in. And I was kind of disappointed in myself because I was like, you know, I have a lot to offer, like a really wonderful person, but I'm just not willing to put myself out there because I'm afraid I'm going to be hurt. So I would surgically remove every person from my life. They didn't even know what happened. Like, they would just blink and I would be gone, and they'd be like, they would never even know what happened. And I was so good at it. Like, it was a thing. Like it was something that people talked to others about me. Like, oh, Athena? Yeah. Like, and they knew that I would just like kick people to the curb. And because sometimes you overcorrect. I've talked about this a lot. If you're driving down the road and then you realize that you have something coming at you and you're like trying to avoid it, you could swerve, but then you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go off the side of the road. And so then you swerve again and you're like, oh no, I'm in oncoming traffic. It's going to take you a minute to recorrect, right? Because we can overcorrect with boundaries. And so John Harvey, I think that trial and error, setting healthy boundaries and cultivating healthy relationships. Let's say you get hurt. You don't give up forever. You just decide to, you know, lick your wounds and try again and put yourself out there. And only with like, start with safe people that you know are safe, like maybe like in the community or this is something that some of my clients are really, really, really good at working on, like because it's actionable, something you can do today. John Harvey, once a day, do an activity or have a communication where someone cannot reject you, where they can't say no to you. What do I mean by that? I had to do this, John Harvey. I had to, because I felt so rejected from the world and so unsafe and so like I was such a relationship failure. I was good at cultivating a healthy relationship with my child. I was a good mom, but I was so focused on being a good mom that I didn't have anything left for other people. I was like the shittiest friend, and I was the most horrible girlfriend ever because I was so dedicated to being a mom. And so what I did, and what I often talk with my clients about, I mean, John Harvey, these are clients that run $1 million companies. These are clients that are in the public eye. These are clients that are on camera, models, actresses, people that have very visible careers, and they're struggling with what you're struggling with, John Harvey. They're struggling. They are disappointed in themselves because they want to live a healthy and happy life, and they wish they could be more strong, but they can't seem to date in a healthy way without sabotaging it or having poor boundaries, allowing themselves to go too far and then running away in the other direction, or just sabotaging it because it feels like it might be safe and good and they don't want to like be disappointed, so they preemptively end it so that they don't have to feel disappointed. So John Harvey, what I tell them to do is what I'm telling you to do. And it works, I know, because I don't tell you guys to do anything unless I've done it myself. Every single day, once a day, minimum once a day, go somewhere or have an interaction where you can't be rejected. I'm talking go to the bank. I'd like to make a deposit. I would like to purchase a venti white mocha. I would like a cup of coffee, please. Grande, Pike's Place, in a venti cup. Here's my money. Grande, Pike's Place, in a venti cup. Grande in a venti cup? Yes, please. Grande in a venti cup, because I like a lot of room for cream. And so you practice. You go to the bank. You go to the coffee shop. You go to the grocery store. You go through the line. You purchase them. You do things that you can't be turned away for, that are 100% guaranteed success. I am going to go to the market. I am going to purchase a newspaper. I am going to purchase a Gatorade. I'm going to go through the drive-thru and get a soda, a pop. I am going to go to Starbucks. I'm going to go to Walgreens and I'm going to purchase shampoo. Like, do something. I'm going to go to the bank and I'm going to make a withdrawal. I'm going to pull money out. I'm going to go do something. I'm going to have an interaction where I cannot fail. And do that over and over and over again, once a day, every day. I'm telling you, by the end of 30 days, you'll be a different person. Your fears surrounding cultivating human relationships will be diminished, vastly diminished. Like, it's the 12th of February. If we come back here on March 12th and you have done this every single day between now and March 12th, you'll have a different view. Your eyes will be open to different things. You'll show up differently in the world because you dared to do something that scared you just a little every single day, once a day. So I'm challenging you. Charlotte says, great question, by the way, John Harvey. Charlotte says, I continue to realize just how disappointing my parents were in their role. They were and still are clueless. There will never be accountability. My mother doesn't deal in reality. She talks about picking flowers. Oh, my heart is just broken for you, Charlotte, because like I totally get it. Charlotte, I totally get it. Seriously. Like, I tried having conversations with my dad, who, by the way, delivered me back to my mother every single week, even though he knew the horrible, horrible things that were going on at that house. Obviously at visitation. So Charlotte, I totally get this. My level of disappointment in my father, there are not words to describe the disappointment that I have in my father. He passed away a few Februaries ago. In fact, 3 years ago to the day, right now, I was in a hospital sitting there with him on life support, deciding if they would pull the plug or let him live and give him a tracheotomy and put him in an old folks home. And he had told me in no uncertain terms that there was no effing way he would ever live that way. And so I had to be the person to make all these decisions. So 3 years ago, to the minute probably, from when this video is being recorded, I was avoiding my feelings of disappointment in my father and trying to make healthy, life-saving decisions for him. That was painful. What you're going through right now is very, very painful. And there is nothing I can tell you that's going to make you feel better. But do know this. Allowing yourself to know that every word you put here is true and that you deserved so much more. I hope that I'm arming you with everything you need to grieve what you deserved and what you never got. And I hope someone will tag you. If someone could tag Charlotte, I would really appreciate it, because I've been there. And I'm still there on some days, honestly, Charlotte. I really am. The level of disappointment I have in my family of origin is it's astonishing, really. The lack of humanness and human decency that flows through my veins and my DNA is mind-blowing. I am like, if I didn't look just like my mother, I would believe that I was adopted from some other gene pool where people were actually human and not robotic, psychopathic, sadistic, Machiavellian, narcissistic, harmful, horrible, abusive people. So there's nothing I can say right now, Charlotte, but to allow yourself to feel that disappointment and to be very, very, very kind to yourself and to grieve the loss of the life that you never had, that you were robbed of. Because you deserve so much more. You really did. You do deserve so much more, and you did your whole life. And thank you for the question, or for the statement. Sharon says, I have been told all of my life that I am a huge disappointment. How do I move through this and heal? Sharon, I happen to know you a little bit, and I would say that you're the farthest thing from a disappointment. Not only are you one of the most ethical people, but you're funny and you're kind and you're warm-hearted and you are generous with your time and your compassion. And I don't know what to tell you other than they've lied to you. Sometimes people lie to us our whole lives. I was lied to my whole life. Sharon, I'd like to tell you something really quick, and then I'm going to move on to Joey's question, and then we're going to be done for the night. But Sharon, I want to look at you, okay? I want to look at you in the face right now. I was told my whole life, along the same lines as yours, where they said that you were a disappointment. I was told that I was ugly, fat, clumsy, and dumb. My whole life. Till I was 40 something. Over 40. Ugly, fat, clumsy, and dumb. I don't look at myself that way anymore. I'm choosing to believe that they were lying, because nothing else they ever said rung true. There were some truths along the way, but for the most part, they were lies. So I'm here to tell you, Sharon, that I think you were lied to, just like I was lied to, because my husband thinks I'm pretty, and he thinks I'm smart, and I am kind of clumsy sometimes, but that's not what they meant by clumsy. They meant like that's why I had bruises and things wrong with me all the time, is because I was so clumsy. But in all actuality, it was because I was being abused. And I am kind of fat. I'm a little on the chubby side. More to love. I'm a full-figured girl. I'm a curvy girl. But I'm also a survivor of an eating disorder, where I used to be able to see the bones in my legs, and I could see my ribs because I withheld my calories, and I was addicted to laxatives, which is a form of bulimia. So I'm healthier now than I was then. I may have looked really, really, really good in baggy clothes when I was, severely underweight with my bones protruding out of my body. But I'm healthier now. I'm a marathoner. I'm a multi-half marathoner. I have green smoothies every day, and they're all lies is basically what I'm saying. You are not a huge disappointment. You've been lied to, and the fact of the matter is you deserved so much more. So I hope that you will sit with that, and you will embrace the truth that so many of us reflect back to you on a regular basis. And thank you for sending that in. because I appreciate you a lot. Last question, you guys. Joey says, what do you do when you feel disappointed after a memory? Example, I thought after I remembered something I had nightmares about that I thought it would gradually go away. I was disappointed that it didn't go away. It kept coming back. Let me see. So I'm feeling disappointed because I thought that once I had a nightmare that it would go away, but it didn't. Once I had the nightmare, it didn't go away. It just kept coming back. And so I feel disappointed in that. So not only would I feel disappointed, Joey, I think I would feel frustrated, and I think I would feel, I would be feeling like, why is this sticking around? Why isn't it going away? Like, I would be impatient. And so what I would say to you, Joey, is it's natural for you to feel disappointed that you're still having these nightmares, but you've also lived through a whole hell of a lot, Joey. You've lived through a lot. You've been through a lot. And the fact that you're alive and that you're here every week, in my opinion, personally and professionally, well, that's a miracle. You're a miracle. So while your disappointment is warranted and valid, I would ask you to just try to be patient with yourself, because the only way that I got through my nightmares and my night terrors and everything else is to just work through it in therapy. I had to work through it with my therapist, and I had to journal about it. So, Joey, if you're not journaling yet, even if you don't have a therapist, please start journaling and talk about your feelings. I feel disappointed. I feel confused as to why this dream keeps happening. This is the dream, and this is what happens in the dream. It causes me to feel, fill in the blanks, like unsafe or fearful or frustrated or angry. It brings up memories for me that are very traumatizing. Just journal about how it is that you're feeling and how you would like to feel. And by all means, if you can reach out to your therapist, I would absolutely share it with them, because you deserve to feel better. And I don't want you feeling disappointed for too long. So I've run over. We are at 78 minutes, an hour and 18 minutes. And so I just want to say good evening to you guys, and thank you for being here. So always just amazes me how many of you stick around all the way to the very end. You guys are the reason that this community is amazing. Thank you for being here. I'll see you back this week, right here next week, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, and we'll be discussing another feeling. I'll post on the channel some point during the week to let you know what feeling we're going to be going through. So far, we've covered fear and unsafety, anger, and disappointment. So we're going to move on to another feeling and talk about navigating our feelings in CPTSD recovery. So you guys are amazing. Thanks for being here. Email lisa@cptsdfoundation.org if you want to get plugged into a free safe group, or if you're interested in daily recovery support live calls that are, it's a monthly subscription and it's affordable. And if so, put in the subject line, daily recovery support. I'm so excited. It's going to be starting up in March. The test run is in March, and then after that will be like live, like forever. It's going to be amazing. So I look forward to providing more support for you guys, which, by the way, like, daily recovery support is, it's not just you showing up and receiving live support. only from like myself or my colleagues, which, by the way, Matt Pappas from Beyond Your Past is a part of this amazing project. But it's not ever always going to be just the two of us. Like, you guys are going to have guest speakers. We're going to be raising up leaders in the community, and they're going to be leading some of the calls. So if you are looking to sort of branch out and provide support to others, or you have a request for a certain guest speaker or whatever, then don't be shy. Daily recovery support is going to be so exciting. I'm just so excited to provide more support for you guys. And I'll tell you more about it another time. But thanks for being here. You guys are amazing. And I'll see you back here 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern every single Monday.